founder of the Better You Project and host of the Better You Leadership Podcast. Today's episode is Victim or Victor. Which narrative do you share? Right? That's the question. Like, which narrative do you share? Are you a victim, a villain, or you could be a victor? And so we want to make sure you come on in and tell some people about this live recording of the Better You Leadership Podcast. Again, my name is Angela M. Odom, and I'm the host of the Better You Leadership Podcast. And today's topic is a really good one. We we are focused on ensuring that what comes out of our mouth is helpful, first of all, to us, right? Helpful to us, beneficial to us, to ourselves. And we want to, listen to the way we narrate things, tell stories. Some of them are in our heads, and we want to be very clear on whether or not we are painting ourselves as a victim in our lives. Sometimes we play that game, right? And really, I don't know if we met someone who is not or has not at some point painted themselves, narrated a story of them being a victim, in some parts of their life, not all parts, but in some parts. So I think of myself as a victor, and sometimes I actually play the victim, though, right? So the goal of our relationships, the goal of having relationships in which anger, sadness, or fear are prominent players is to shift, recognize, become aware of that, and then to shift to having relationships that are creative, collaborative, professional, and you want to have good feelings when your relationships, as opposed to feeling drained and let down because you are the victor, and victors attract villains. Victors attract victims, right? Victors attract victims and villains, right? So sometimes you don't even know you yourself are playing a victim. This is like a role we might play as we are um, focusing on an event, or we know we're going to engage with other people. And sometimes we're like, oh my God, we're blind to it sometimes. And sometimes we know full well what we're doing. So the critical thing is to understand, um, is to recognize where you are in the role. Are you the victor? Are you the victim? Or are you the villain in the roles when you talk about the three V's, right? So the question today is, are you narrating yourself as a victim or victor, right? And I think it's really important to understand we're not talking about, typical definition of victim. We're looking at the mentality, so within the Better You community, we focus on mindset first as we're moving forward. And of course, we're always focused on women leaders, right? And myself, I teach women how to lead themselves and others. And so this topic today is about leading yourself, and then recognizing what's going on around you for your teams, right? You might be creating some situations or conditions where people are feeling like a victim, right? Like something is beyond their control. So we're not talking about victimization, right? That is totally different, or being victimized. We're not talking about those things. This is would be when someone is adversely affected by someone or something else. So we're really talking about a mentality, not necessarily victimization or being victimized. We're not talking about that. So let's be very clear, right? So this victim is coming out of your mouth. This is made up in your head, right? And so it happens when we play the part of victim, and we have a victim mentality. Um, and we often are not even aware of that's how we're coming off, right? So every day, I heard a guy say this on TikTok, right? Every day we have a choice and a chance. We're given a chance and we have a choice. And I am asking you, right? I'm sharing with you to choose which role is best for the situation. Sometimes you might play a victim and it might work for you in the short term. And so you want to make sure that you are aware that whether you're narrating the role for yourself as a victim, victor, or are you a villain, right? So you do have a choice, and I just want you to be conscious of it, as opposed to this just happening and you're unconsciously choosing to be a victim. And again, don't get all caught up. We're not talking about victimization, nor are we talking about being victimized. Um, so let's just talk about some examples of what this might look like. If you got yourself a boo, a husband, a wife, a lover, someone you're in that close relationship with, right? And it could be platonic also, platonic, but we're not. This is what we're talking. This is an example, right? So you're in a relationship with someone who's not willing, not usually owning up to their responsibility in the part in the drama that you all are engaging in. Like you're just not clicking, and it's not it's not any kind of physical issues going on. It's just you're just discontent, right? And so you're in that relationship, and your partner um, may often act out their feelings or emotions without thought and no consideration of the other person, of you. And it's not abusive, it's just discontent. So the relationship can usually be made whole through counseling or coaching or communication or accepting responsibility, or apologizing. The relationship could most likely be made whole by an apology, or accepting responsibility, or counseling, coaching, those things. So that's what I mean. That's one example in that type of relationship. And then the other one be another example of playing the victim would be, say, one of your neighbors who might be elderly, right? She might come off as extremely negative, and you might hear her say things like, well, the whole world's going to hell. If it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. And you're like, uh-oh, I'm going to get out of here before she starts the litany of things that are awful, right? She thinks of almost everyone is out to take advantage of her. And let's be clear, sometimes people are taking advantage of older people, right? They are. I mean, it could be their kids and grandkids, all those people. But anyway, so, but what you do notice is that she has a very loving relationship with her grandkids when they come over to visit. There's no victim in that relationship. It's just fun and healthy and whole, and you can see that, observe that. And so we know that she can play the victim card, and occasionally when she was younger, I think maybe that's all she knew, right? That was like a survivor thing, kind of things, way she survived. And it's interesting just to watch that. So one example might be, in your personal love relationship, and then another example I just shared of playing the victim, victim mentality of the older lady. And then another example might be an employee, someone on your team who is, on a team setting, and you have a boss who is demanding, really upholding standards in the workplace. And, you might hear one of your employees or your teammates or your peers say, that lady's always on my butt, right? And it's the same boss, same work environment with other people on the team who are performing to standard and above standard, right? The boss, that lady, you, is actually just holding people accountable, right? She's doing the performance reviews over time, provided all the resources. And so if you are the person who is constantly complaining, yapping your jaws about what's not going right, then think about that. You might be painting yourself as a victim and making disparaging marks about her just because you need to get your butt in gear, right? And so those are three examples of what that might look like. And so, can you imagine, living in a world with a mindset of victimhood? Somebody's doing something to you, and it's not being victimized or victimization, two totally different things, right? And so, it's kind of weird. So some people choose to live that way. It's a choice. And too many people prefer to play the role of victim instead of being responsible for their life. And so, again, victimhood, let's be clear, mentality of being a victim, somebody's doing something to me when it's not really true, right? And victimhood is you really just don't have control over how you see things, right? Victimization, rather, is, or being victimized, let's be clear, is something that happens to you. It's most likely completely out of your control. Victimization is not the subject of this article, though. It's not what we're talking about, right? We're not focusing on that. So when you are a victim, there is a persecutor, there is a villain, right? And so every victim requires a villain or a persecutor. It's not always a person. It could be a condition or circumstance. A persecuting condition might be, a disease, or you get some kind of cancer, heart issue, or injury. And these circumstances could be a natural disaster, like a hurricane. It's a whole bunch of like flash flood warnings all day. Yesterday, the same thing. So that could be, a persecuting condition. And so the persecutor or the villain is whoever or whatever we can cast blame on. You will often hear things said like, it's their fault, man. You know, they make me this way. They don't like me. You gets keep on saying things like that, right? And so some of the things I want you to, and I saw this in an article a few months ago, and I want to share this with you. When you enter the role and you're not really clear on whether you are casting yourself, narrating yourself as the victim, the victor, or the villain, right, the persecutor, you want to determine which one of these roles you're playing. So ask yourself a few questions, right? Who or what am I blaming? The persecutor, the villain, right? Who am I blaming? And then, do I have options in this situation? Do you have choices, right? Am I giving up my power when I could retain it? Do you have a choice? And then, am I only feeling like a victim in this situation, or is it like everywhere I am? And do I want or enjoy being a victim, right? Do I enjoy being a victim? I think about that. So you want to think about the relationship where you feel like a victim, and it could be anyone, anything. And then the question really is, who are you blaming? So once you hear yourself blaming someone or some situation or condition, then you're placing yourself as a victim. And it's neither right nor wrong, right? It just is. It just is. I saw a quote, and I want to share this with you. An excerpt, really, from a book by David Emerald Wormendorf, and that's Womeldorff. Wormendorf. Victims may be defensive, submissive, over accommodating to others, passive aggressive in conflict, depending on others for self worth, overly sensitive, easily manipulative. They're often angry, resentful, and envious, feeling unworthy or ashamed about their circumstances. Have you ever felt or acted this way? This is by David Emerald Wormendorf. It's a good way to, just see whether, wait a minute, am I being defensive? Am I submissive? Over accommodating to others, right? Passive aggressive in conflict. Am I dependent on other people for self worth? Am I overly sensitive? Am I easily manipulated? And then the other thing is, as far as sadness or angry, resentful, envious, so just think about those types of triggers or situations or feelings for you, right? So I want you to know that if you are the person who swoops in and makes things right for others, right? If you are that person who swoops in and you make things right for others consistently, and you are the victor. You make things right. You're probably exhausted. You're probably exhausted. So when we talk about leadership and leading others, then consider delegating. Consider um, that if you are a victor, you're probably attracting victims, right? Okay, Mo, I see you. And so when you are attracting victims and you are a victor, right? You're in that role, then guess what? Once you start showing up for yourself first and serving others from the overflow, once you start um, putting some distance in between people who or things and focusing on your own goals, you're still going to help people, but perhaps you don't answer them so quickly, or you're not able to do so many things because you're doing your own things, right? And so you become cast by them as the villain, because now you're not available to them. Now you're not pouring yourself putting yourself on fire to keep them warm. So you have to think about um, which role are you playing, right? Whether you are the victor, the victim, or the villain, and be comfortable in any of those roles. I want you to be comfortable in either one of those roles based on the situation and the condition. Just be aware. Just be aware of where you are in either one of those V's, right? Where are you? And so that's what I wanted to share this morning about the um, casting yourself, narrating yourself, your story as a victim or a victor. And so as the words are coming out of your mouth and you are feeling a certain kind of way, just become more aware, right? It's all a mindset kind of thing. Again, this is not um, about being about victimization, treating somebody badly, or being mean to people, pushing people down to make yourself look good or feel good. This is about our own mindset and the way we see ourselves and the roles we play and the stories we tell. um, how do we cast ourselves? Is it like, oh my god, I cannot do this? Right? Get yourself some expand your networks, right? Expand your networks, and ensure that you have good support, good people around you in your circle. Ensure that you have good positive role models, and you yourself for that. So um, with that said, I just want to just ensure that you are aware of what's coming out of your mouth, what's in your mind, your thoughts and your words and your actions. And do you carry yourself as a victim or a victor? And do you speak as if you are a victor or a villain? All of those things. And sometimes, like one situation might be, you might be a villain, if you have teenage kids and you're saying no. Then you might be a villain. And sometimes that's okay, right? And so be very clear about what we're talking about today. It is about leading yourself, and it's about being aware. That's what we're doing. So, with that said, I wanted to just make sure that you are aware that on Instagram, Angela O Reading List, Angela O Reading List on Instagram, focusing on our next leadership book that we will be discussing, and it's October 20th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. It's free, and we'll do the making of a manager on October 20th at 7 p.m. On. So go to Angela O reading list, and I'm not sure if I posted that in there yet, but it's coming. So we look forward to seeing you there. Again, my name is Angela M. Odom. I'm a life and leadership coach, founder of the Better You Project brand, and I'm also a podcast host of the Better You Leadership podcast. Proud Army veteran and the author of Bronco Strong and my new book, Gollum's Magical Gamers, a children's book. So I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday on the Better You Leadership podcast. In the meantime, If you are ready to become a better leader in 100 days, look forward to you scheduling a 30-minute virtual call with me, up to 30 minutes. It could be like 10, but I'll set aside 30 minutes for a virtual call on Zoom. I'll share the details of the program itself. And you say, well, where do I go for that? Or, oh my God, this is fantastic. Where do I find it? It's Angela Odom. Now, my name is Angela Odom, ODOM, .as.me/leadership capacity, right? And that is Angela Odom, .as.me/leadership capacity. So I look forward to talking to you next Tuesday. With that said, make sure you have an amazing day. And I'm rooting for you.